this is JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban knife style and jungle survival. Today we're going to have a look at the CRKT 7271 or the Ripsnort II, designed by Philip Booth. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description below. You can even join as a channel member. Thanks a lot. This knife is by Columbia River Knife & Tool, or CRKT. It's the Ripsnort II, a second version of this knife, and I think the design is much better. It looks nicer in my opinion. This came out in 2022. Designed by Philip Booth, it is a folding knife. It's a flipper knife. Deployment is by this thumb stud over here. And it's actually a beefy knife. It's a pretty big knife. As you can see, I've got small to medium hands, but it fills up my hands, and I think it's an underrated beefy knife. And what I was drawn to it was because it was a nice big beefy knife. I don't have a cleaver style blade, which is what this has. Let's have a look at the knife. Deploy it just like that. Nice big beefy blade. Reminds me a bit of the sheepdog from Kaiser. Now if you like that kind of a blade, you're looking for a beefy knife, I think this might be for you. Now let's talk about some specs before we actually look at the knife. The blade length is 3.48 inches, the overall length is 8.28 inches, and the close length or handle length is 4.81 inches. The overall weight is 6.2 ounces, and the blade style here is a cleaver style blade, satin finish. The thickness is 0.13 inches. Not a very thick blade given the size of the knife. You can see it's quite wide here. Now the blade steel is 8CR13 MOV stainless steel. That's a budget steel from China. It is a decent steel. Personally, for me, for an urban EDC knife or an urban knife that you use, or a knife that you use in an urban setting, light use generally, I think this is adequate. Now I can imagine that some people would think that a cleaver style blade of this size should have a tougher steel or harder steel, so they want a better steel. So I definitely can see that argument. Personally, I'm okay with this particular steel. It's easy to sharpen, although if you do use it a lot, you might get frustrated by the edge retention. But having this sort of budget steel also keeps the price of the knife down. Now this is a liner lock, so you just press that so that it closes up. You deploy it with this thumb stud and it opens up quite well indeed. You can see the liners here, pretty thick. Normally they aren't so thick. In fact, the liner seems to be as thick, or if not thicker, than the blade stock itself. Not sure if it's skeletonized. Let's have a look. Doesn't really seem skeletonized, so this is quite hefty, but for a blade of the shape and style, you'd expect a bit of heft. Now the handle is black GRN or glass reinforced nylon. There's this bit of design over here, which is quite nice. You've got a lanyard hole over there, the spacer here, which I also believe would be GRN. And overall, that's what you have. There is a pocket clip stainless steel tip down right carry, non-reversible. So that's the overall look at the knife. Now personally for me, because I was looking for this style knife, I wanted something a bit beefier to contrast with my other knives, and I do not intend to EDC this. It's a bit too big personally for me to EDC. I do prefer smaller knives, maybe about 3 inches long in terms of blade length as my EDC, but as something I keep at home in one of my rooms, because every room in the house must have a knife, I think this is perfectly fine. Let's just do some comparisons with other knives, just so that you get the sense of it. Okay, we've got the popular QSP Penguin that goes there. This is quite a utility knife, D2 steel, also very well built and robust. It's got that sheepswood style utilitarian blade, but it does look small compared to this Ripsnort II. Let's look at this knife over here. This is the Cold Steel Air Light series. This is the Tento blade, also quite a big blade, but definitely not as wide as this Ripsnort II. Now we've got a larger knife over here. This is the Cansep Model 6. It's got a sheep's foot style blade, pretty large as well, not as big as that, but maybe incomparable in size. And finally, an Altoids tin, just for that final comparison. Now, overall, I think in terms of ergonomics, not too bad. Now, it looks very big and beefy over here, but it does slender down, which makes it pretty nice. Even if you have big hands, you can see you're gonna really have a full grip purchase on this blade, which is pretty nice. You can use that kind of a hammer grip. You can still do draw cuts. Overall, I think you'd be pretty happy with it. Now, there's no sharpening choil. There's a bit of ricasso over here. I wouldn't really recommend choking up too much. Maybe a fingertip here, but again, a bit dangerous. So just keep it here. There's a finger choil, but your fingers won't be that close to the blade. So fine work, I think it's still fine. You can still put your thumb over just like that and maybe rest the finger over here if you really need to do so. But as an urban utility knife, I'm pretty happy with this. I think for the price, let's see what the MSRP is. Now, MSRP is about $80 US, but generally you should get it for about $50 to $55 US. Not too bad for a budget knife of this size. And if you like this design and cleaver look, compared, let's say, to the sheepdog from Kaiser, as I mentioned, this could be a good substitute. Well, what do you think of this knife? Do you own this particular Ripsnort II, or do you have the Ripsnort I? Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. As always, keep it folded, keep it safe. Talk to you soon.